Hello, my name is Glenn Wrightson, and I'm running for mayor of Atlanta, and I put this video together so that if you watch it, you'll see who I am and what it is I propose for the city as mayor. I've got a short version, a recap, and then I've got a longer version that follows it. So if you'll listen to the short version, you can get the major points, and then if you listen to the full video here, you can hear more of the details. The short version is I'm from Atlanta for the most part. I've lived here since the early 60s. Went to Spring Street Elementary School, Henry Grady High School, went to Wake Forest University, came back, and I've lived here ever since. I don't like to campaign. I don't like to ask people to vote for me. You vote for whoever you want to vote for, but I thought I'd throw my name in the hat and put out some ideas, and maybe you decide that you did want to vote for me. I'm not accepting any donations or contributions to the campaign. I've loaned myself the campaign funds, considerable amount. There's one thing that's fun to mention, and that is that, you know, if somebody takes care of the luxuries, then you think maybe the necessities will take care of themselves. But that's not necessarily the case, and I think that's what's happened here at the city. I think the check engine light is on at City Hall. The developers, the businesses, some of the businesses, the developers and the investors, I think they're doing okay, but yet the citizens are in second place here now, it seems. So what would I do? I would promote the slogan, Atlanta has heart. I would focus on core services. I would stop the corruption at City Hall. I would oppose casinos. That's a seedy business. We don't want that in Atlanta. I would establish a Department of Transportation, light rail on the Beltline, rapid bus, traffic light control, central control, more bike lanes. I'd be the citizens' voice to the county and state governments. I would work to lower the water and sewer rates. We've got the highest water and sewer rates in the country. I would reduce the budget of the mayor's office. Mayor's office budget doesn't need to be $30 million a year. I would work to remove the 911 surcharge on the wastewater bills for the 911 call center. That's a new tax on the wastewater bills. I'd see if we couldn't fund that internally without. I would remove some employees from the city payroll. I would give raises to the city employees. I would rework the zoning ordinances. I would work to restrict building parking decks and parking places in the city. For example, Grant Park, we don't need a parking deck in Grant Park and cut down all the trees. It's a park. We don't need a parking deck in the park. That just encourages more cars to come into the city. I would try and eliminate plastic grocery bags and restrict gas-powered leaf blowers. That's a must. We need to do that. I would stop the fancy banquet spending. I would have practical solutions and have sensibility be an aspect of the city government. On the other candidates, I would save that for the long version. And last for the short version, I'm last on the ballot. So when you look through the ballot, when you go to vote and you look through the ballot, I'm the last candidate. So you can consider the other candidates, and then I'm the last one, and vote for Glenn Wrightson. Now the longer version. We moved to Atlanta. When I was really little, we lived in the country, and I fed the chickens before I got on the school bus and all that. And we didn't have pigs. We had a couple of horses and the chickens and all, and a tractor. But we moved to Atlanta. I went to Spring Street Elementary School, where the Puppetry Art Theater is now. I went to Henry Grady High School. I think when I was maybe a sophomore and junior, I was the president of the student class, and then as a senior, I was co-president of the student body, and also the co-president and I were the vice president of the state student council. I then went to Wake Forest University, majored in business, minored in biology and classical Greek. If you want to have some fun, take classical Greek. And I finished at Wake, came back to Atlanta and worked with an engineering firm and did consulting work and worked with municipal systems on their rates that they charged and looked at their tax revenue and then the money, how they allocated and spent the money for the services they provided. So we've heard one candidate being promoted and promoting himself to be the only candidate that can handle the finances into the future with a $15 billion money for the transportation. Well, that's not true. I've probably got way more experience than he with municipal finance and how the money is allocated to the different services that are provided. So let's correct that. That's what I did for my career, was consulting with municipal systems. So I've local school, off to Wake Forest, came back, worked, consulted with municipal systems. And what I mentioned about if you take care of in the short version, if you take care of the luxuries, the necessities will take care of themselves. Well, that just seems like to me is sort of what's happened, where the developers and the hotel, motel, the accommodations, the hospitality for the tourism, and that those are the businesses and the individuals that have gotten the emphasis, and not so much the citizens. I guess the thinking has been, well, the citizens benefit to the extent these other entities are successful. I believe the citizens are maybe getting left behind on this emphasis, the way the emphasis has been. And what I propose, here's what I propose, and I think it's different than the other candidates, is because we've got to get ready for this growth spurt that we've had and going to continue to have. I propose that we realign our thinking and focus on the core city services. I believe the check engine light is broken, or is on rather, at City Hall. And the expression, they dropped the ball at City Hall. Go to City Hall, I challenge you, go to City Hall and try and conduct business. And you're going to make 2 trips. You're going to make 2 trips. It's not a comfortable situation to go to City Hall and try and conduct business. And then we see workers standing next to the service vehicle. So I would focus on employee productivity. That's city government. Are the employees producing? And focus on the core service. It's roadways, roadways, police and fire, water and sewer, the core services. And if we focus on those, then we'll be ready for the growth, and we'll get the new businesses. If we have a clean city that's functioning correctly, that's hitting on all cylinders, we shall get the new growth. Our portion of it, if not more. We'll get the Amazons, we'll get the businesses coming here, because they'll say, well, it's a well-run city, it's a clean city, it's a nice city. So that's the main aspect, is to focus on the core services. I would try and stop the corruption at City Hall. I guess everybody says that, and maybe it's a hard task to accomplish, but there ought to be some checks and balances in there where for bidding contracts and letting contracts and paying people. It seems like we could stop the corruption. I know the story is Bill Campbell would get sacks of money at the golf course, and then I'm not running against Kasim Reed, but I was startled back when he first ran, he had a $10,000 cashier check fall out of his envelope in the tax commissioner's office, and forgot he had it. And we need to do better, I think. We need to do better in city government. This is your government, it's city government, it's not that complicated, and we can do better. I'm opposed to having casinos in Atlanta. A couple of things. One, that's a sketchy business, and I know it's popular in some places. I guess it's popular everywhere to an extent, but it's a sketchy business, and we have got enough poor people in this city already. And I just don't think it would be a good idea for the city of Atlanta to have casinos. I think instead that I would like to see us promote the slogan, Atlanta has heart. I believe that conveys a true aspect of the citizenry here, and how we relate to one another and what we've been through over the years. You know, Atlanta was burned to the ground and then rebuilt, and we're economic engine of the South. We're crossroads, largest airport, busiest airport, commerce, finance. We're doing great. And we've got a compassion here that I don't know if you see it in other cities. And I think the slogan, Atlanta has heart, I believe that would be a positive thing we should pursue. Promote that as a slogan. On transportation, I would develop a department of transportation. That's not going to be an easy we're not going to, you know, we're going to have trouble solving that issue. Of course, now the industry, the relationship of automobiles to individuals and society is changing. We're going to have to go to driverless cars eventually, it looks like, and this thing is in a flux now. It's getting ready to change. We've about reached our saturation point. When you sit out on the interstate for 2 hours, 3 hours per day, trying to go somewhere to your job so you can feed your family or keep your status ego or whatever it is, you know, that you're sitting in your car out there, we're burning the petroleum. It's not a good thing. And France, I believe, and maybe California has said we're going to go electric cars. And then you've got the driverless cars. So, you know, mass transit, of course, we don't have the legacy systems. Say Boston, New York, London. They've got the subways, been there for, what, I don't know, 80 years, 100 years, I don't know. We don't have that. So we're surface streets and surface rail. One thing I would suggest, strongly suggest, and I'd like to see us do it as a community, everybody in the community accept the fact and promote and encourage the idea of building 1 mile of rapid rail per year. And somebody's going, well, that doesn't accomplish anything. That doesn't do very much. But think about it. At 4 years, we got 4 more miles of rapid rail somewhere, maybe a new station. 8 years, we've got 8 miles. 20 years, we've got another 20 miles. And 20 years in the big picture is around the corner. So I would like to see us adopt that mentality where, okay, we're going to build 1 mile of rapid rail per year. I think too, and I don't understand what happened to the Beltline transportation. I had foreseen that we'd have light rail going around the Beltline, and instead what we see are these cement trucks pouring a sidewalk. We're building a sidewalk in place of the light rail. And I don't quite understand that. I know you can walk your dog and ride your bicycle, but we had rail in the ground there on the tires, and I thought we were going to utilize that for some light rail somehow, 1-way or 2-way or something. I mean, I don't know if we're being smart. You know, if we need to try and be smart. That is going to be our salvation. That is where we're going to not have the thing implode on us, where we bottleneck ourselves and choke down, is to be smart and think about what we're doing and be honest. I mean, you think back about the tax, approving the tax for transportation, and then you think about the toll there on 400, and the government didn't close the toll, didn't stop the toll when it said it would. So about that time, I think it was, I don't have all the dates, but it seemed like the citizens in the vote said, oh no, We're not going to vote more taxes for transportation. You didn't do what you said you were going to the last time we voted in transportation tax. You didn't close the toll road. So we need honesty, and we need direction, and we need somebody in the mayor's office that can stand firm and stand the ground and lead the way and say, here's what we need to do, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm asking you to get behind it and let's do this thing. It's for the good of all of us. We're not trying to favor one group or the other. It's going to help us all. Less air pollution, greater mobility, more time, less stress. It's good for everybody. It's going to help us all. Maybe cut out road rage. Maybe trim down on the road rage and people darting in and out of traffic and blowing their horn, car horns. So there's transportation. There's a Department of Transportation. And get the bicycle group, get the rapid bus group, get the rail people together in a room and say, okay, here's what we're going to do, and let's do it. No more kicking the can. We've had enough can kicking. I think we got some can kickers that are running for mayor now. I'm not going to kick the can. I might tap it with my toe a little bit, but I'm not going to kick it way down the roadway. One thing I think the city government should do is be the voice of the citizens to the state government and the county government on some of these issues that benefit the citizens, is to speak up and say, hey, here's our position on that, and be a little bit vocal about it, not sit back and hold hands and go along with the crowd on everything. I think that there might be some room to lower the water and sewer rates. I was involved to some degree with the analysis on setting the rates for the water and sewer, and I did not recommend the rates that are in place. I recommended a lower charge. You could barely read the numbers at that engineering firm that was paid huge dollars to put together the study. You could barely read the numbers, and I didn't feel comfortable proposing that the city adopt those rates when you could barely read the numbers. And the steep incline with the tiered rates is pretty difficult. Plus, I've moved the decimal one more place out so that if you use the same amount of water, you don't trip over into the next tier the next month, and then your bill goes up $12. You've used the same amount. I'd take a hard look at the water and sewer rates. I recall at one point, the Water and Sewer Department loaned the general fund $160 million. I think that was when we borrowed so much money for the Water and Sewer Department to make these capital improvements within a certain time span, and maybe the general fund needed some shoring up at that time. But I wasn't happy about that. I thought, well, if we've got $160 million in the Water Sewer Department to loan to the general fund, then somewhere along the line the numbers are off. So I would look to lower, if we could, the water and sewer rates. Some of the capital improvements have been pushed out now. We're not contaminating the rivers like we were. So to the extent there's some room to lower the water and sewer rates, particularly with the growth we've had, and I know there's low flow equipment being installed that may offset the growth, but I think we could at least take a hard look at it, move that decimal so your bill doesn't fluctuate as it does, and focus some attention on that. That's a big payment for everybody every month, and it goes to the city. I would see if I could reduce the budget of the mayor's office. The mayor's office budget is, I think it's over $30 million a year, which does include the city TV station, maybe Channel 57. But if I'm elected the mayor, I'm not going to ride around in a $92,000 SUV, much less have two of them. I'll ride the bus if I need to, but I don't need to ride in a $92,000 SUV. I drive older vehicles that are paid for. But the mayor's budget, to the extent that we fly to Belgium, city government flies to Belgium for an air quality conference, well, that, how much delegation type, being a delegate everywhere, a big shot, and it costs money. you know, and these banquets, these high-dollar banquets. And I know the hospitality industry needs to have some business, but the city government is not in the business of spending money. The city government is in the business of providing these core services: police and fire, public safety, roads, resurfacing the roads, water and sewer, the core features. That's the core services. That's where the city government needs to focus its attention, and not on these fancy banquets. I believe we can reduce the budget in the mayor's office just right out of the box. I'm not going to need $400,000 or $500,000 and $200,000 a year assistants or spokespersons. I'll say what I think when I need to. I think we can remove some employees from the city payroll. I think we're bloated in the city payroll with employees. I've seen city employees parked behind JJ's Country Kitchen. I see them around town. They're not working. Maybe they're on break, but they're taking some long breaks. And I want to see the city employees have a bounce in their step and get the job done. Be glad that they've got a job and work. There's more to having a job than having the job. It's to do the work. And I want to see the city employees that are getting a pension if they stay long enough, which doesn't happen now in a lot of private industry. I want to see a bounce in the step of the city employees where they have pride in what they're doing, that they respect the fact that they have a job with a secure paycheck and a retirement plan and insurance, and that they have a bounce in their step and get the job done. I think what happened here a while back was we redid the pension fund, where we've refunded the pension fund so it met the requirements. And we took more pay out of the employee's paycheck, and there's a natural slowdown. Maybe it's subconscious, but we're not getting the work done that we need to get done with the employees we have. And I think there's some employees we don't need on the payroll. We don't need people at City Hall socializing. We need for them to be working. And we take those employees and let them go find another job somewhere else, and we give the remaining employees a raise. The city employees have not effectively had a raise, I think, in 7 or 8, maybe 9 years, after you consider the increase in insurance cost and whatnot. But I want to see the employees have a bounce in their step, and I'd like to see them have a raise. We need for the employees to at least make enough money to live in the city. I just reminded myself of something I want to say that with respect to city finances. It seems like a few years ago, I don't know if it's when one of the candidates was a chief financial officer or not, but we'd hear about how the city needs to spend $40 million to do such and such. Maybe it was the little trolley that runs around the circle downtown. City said, "Oh, we don't have the $40 million. And then 2 or 3 days later, the city said, "Oh, we found the money in a reserve account." So with my background in business and my experience with municipal systems, I'm going to find out where this money is, consolidate the books where we don't have a reserve account over here and a hidden secret reserve account over there, and all of a sudden here, oh, we found $40 million we didn't know we had. That's not right, ladies and gentlemen, voters, citizens. You're the citizens. It's your tax money. It's your money. And we're saying, oh, we didn't know we had it. That is wrong. And we don't want to I don't want to see us keep electing those people again and again and again and again. They've been in office. We've had those problems. Let's get somebody new. Let's see, zoning ordinance is going to be reworked. I'm not an expert on zoning issues, but I do know that if you go to Houston, Texas, they didn't have any zoning ordinances, and you'll see a high-rise and a gas station and a laundromat, and a high-rise, a residential, and the zoning's mixed up over there. We don't want that. We do want to have zoning restrictions. One thing I think we want to build into any new zoning changes that we make is we want to look at parking spaces. Give parking spaces a hard look, because when you build these high-density units, these 5-story stick-built high-density units, and you plant 200 parking places in this high-density unit, that's going to invite automobiles, and they're going to spill out on the roadway. We're preparing for a bottleneck up here around the state capitol. When Turner Field project gets built out, and they're building on Memorial Drive, these 5-story units, apartment, condo complexes, we're going to have a real nice bottleneck up there where they're building the new state courthouse. We need to think in advance. So in the zoning, we need to have traffic be an issue in the zoning. Speaking of which, we probably need to look real hard at having a traffic impact fee. When you build a new facility, house, apartment, complex, business, you pay a sewer impact fee to connect to the system. You're impacting the treatment plant, you're impacting the capacity of the pipes, and we may need to look at having a traffic impact fee where you're building more parking places, you're going to impact the traffic, and we're going to need, say, $10,000 per parking space or something when you build a new facility. But zoning is going to be a big issue, and that's going to help determine how we grow out 20, 30, 40, 50 years out. We need to be thinking about the future. We may not be here, but what kind of city do we want to have? So zoning is going to be a big issue, and I hope we get some smart people involved. One thing I propose, I'm pretty strong on this, is I would like to see us eliminate plastic grocery bags. There's talk of there being a 200-mile, square area out in the Pacific Ocean with plastic trash bags. And we hear about climate change, and well, we're in the Paris Treaty, or we're not in the Paris Treaty. All this stuff starts at home. Can we not have people take a little knit bag with them or something to the grocery store and eliminate the plastic trash bags? We should do that. And I'm pretty strongly against gas-powered leaf blowers. You see these individuals now, they're wearing the ear protection and a mask, and they're blowing leaves. So I've got a neighbor that blows one leaf out in his grass yard just as a hobby, I guess. The pitch on those things exceeds the city noise ordinance level. They're registering at 80 decibels or more. They pollute the air quality of those small gas engines. The exhaust is horrible. It stirs up the dust, and oftentimes they're blowing the debris into the stormwater system. So they clear the street, they blow it into the stormwater. Now we've got to treat and separate, and it's a problem. And I don't think we need to have the gas-powered leaf blowers in all parts of the city. Maybe particularly the historical districts, the residential districts. They're too loud, they cause too much air pollution, and it's a lazy aspect. I mean, why do people need one of those? Why not use a rake or a broom? It'd be healthier. I mentioned the fancy banquet spending. That's on my list here. Maybe I have it on here twice because and what I'm trying to suggest is, and I would like for you, the citizens, to think about this when you vote, is what we're not talking about the Oscar, people winning the Oscars, or people that are knighted by the Queen, or people that or some organization that is changing the world. We're talking about city government, a city government. And I've worked with a lot of them. I've worked with city government. You couldn't buy the mayor a cup of coffee. You couldn't buy the clerk. You couldn't give her a paper clip. They don't. It's it's the citizens' money, and they understand that. So I'm heavy duty on not spending, not fancy banquet. I call it fancy banquet spending. We need to eliminate that out of city government. We do not need to spend the citizens' money in an extravagant fashion. We just don't need to do it. It's not something we need to do. We got enough poor people in this city. We got underpaid city employees, and we don't need one class out of the city government going to all these fancy banquets and spending all the money. It's not right. I want to bring to City Hall practical solutions. That's the emphasis. I want to bring a citizen's perspective and practical solutions. And I'd like to mention that we're hearing about transparency, and I think it's a good idea to have these contracts public, or have somebody oversee, a master oversee the contracts and the money getting spent, especially over, say, $500,000 or $1 million. Let's look into it and see what we're getting, what we're paying. But we need practical solutions, and we've heard about transparency, we've heard about accountability, we've heard about sustainability and all these abilities. Well, I'd like to hear about sensibility. That's what I would bring. That's what we need. We need sensibility in city government. We're going to get swamped with growth, and we've got to reboot this thing and go back to core services, get lean and not mean, lean and nice, let's say. But it's like a ship, sailing a ship. You want to have the bottom cleaned off, you want to have the sails trimmed just right, and you want to have it pointed right the way you need best to go where you're going up into the wind. It's like sailing a ship. I sail. So we want to trim and have the city government operate at optimum performance levels. And we need sensibility. I'd like to hear more about sensibility. We hear about all these other abilities. What about that? On the other candidates, I could go down the list, and of course they could find something wrong with me. Not that hard to do, but most of the other candidates have been in city government, and now maybe they haven't been had the microphone or had the podium, but now they've got these great ideas, and I just wonder if they are leaders, if they have that leadership quality. Why is it taking so long to get to this point? They already had a stage. They were on city council. Could they not have said, "Hey, let's do this, or let's do that, or let's do this," instead of sitting in the background approving everything, and then now, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. They've been in city government. So what do you think about having somebody new come into city government that's from Atlanta for the most part and knows the city? I remember when Phipps Plaza was a cow pasture, and when they built up Ansley Mall, that used to be a garbage dump. That's why the parking lot's swervy. And when the Regency Hyatt House was the tallest building in town, I've seen the transformation. Ask yourself, why did the junior varsity close? Is it a zoning issue? I mean, I'm from it. I'm here. I'm the citizen. I'll be the citizen candidate. So on the other candidates, we've had the CFO. Where did the money come from? We've had council members that are quick to show up at some of these events, but it turns into a campaign issue. You go to a memorial service where a bartender on Memorial Drive has been murdered, and a city council person shows up and makes a political trip out of it instead of having reverence for the man that died. So these folks have been in city government and politics. We got one man's a senator in the state legislature, and all of a sudden, and I think he's introduced some good bills. But what's wrong with having somebody new that has the citizens' interest at heart? And let's peel back from from favoring and giving tax breaks to the developers so much. Let's spend 4, maybe 8 years working to tune the engine, get the check engine light to go off, tune the engine, focus on core services, have the employees have a bounce in their step, be socially conscious with a slogan Atlanta has heart, do away with plastic bags, gas-powered leaf blowers, have a clean city. I'd make it a policy where every city employee is to pick up a piece of, if he sees a piece of trash, every city employee is to pick up trash. Have pride in the city. It's where you work. Have pride in where you work. So I'm saying that the other candidates, I could tell some stories, but and again, I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect person. But I feel duty bound when I see that the need, and I'm a little bit headstrong. If I see there's something that needs to be done, I pursue it. And I'm running for mayor, no contributions, no donations, has the citizens' interest at heart. I'm going to be the last person on the ballot. So when you look at the other candidates and you get the Glenn Wrightson, last name Wrightson, vote for Glenn Wrightson. And I think we'll have a good 4 years. I think we'd have a prosperous, good 4 years, and we could help some people. We could do some good things, do things right. My name is Wrightson, so that's what I like to do, is do what's right, and do vote. You know, if you've got another candidate you want to vote for, well, okay, but. Consider me and think about, well, this guy could be the mayor. He'd be a good mayor. He's got a good sense of humor. He's got some energy, strong-willed on some issues, and he's for the citizens. That's the key, for the citizens. So Glenn Wrightson for mayor. Thank you.